Chapter 586, The Second Grey Stone Bead. Jian Wushuang appeared more relaxed after the brief exchange. However, when Empress Xiao produced that item, Jian Wushuang was stunned and his eyes goggled. This is... Jian Wushuang stared intently at the object. It was a grey stone bead. Jian Wushuang was very familiar with it because he had one inside his body. The bead inside his body had given him the heavenly creation skill and changed his life. Now, Empress Xiao was showing him another grey stone bead which was exactly the same as his. The most important discovery was that when the second bead was produced, Jian Wushuang could sense the one inside his body resonating with it. Obviously, there was a strong connection between the grey stone beads. Kid, you recognize this bead, right? Empress Xiao looked at Jian Wushuang with a smile and said slowly, Heavenly creation skill. Jian Wushuang was taken aback. He raised his head and glanced at Empress Xiao. Jian Wushuang realized that Empress Xiao was aware of his big secret regarding the grey stone bead and the heavenly creation skill. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and said solemnly, Senior Empress Xiao, this grey stone bead is the same as the one inside my body, and they resonate with each other. If I'm not wrong, the bead you have should have already recorded the remaining cultivation method of the heavenly creation skill. Jian Wushuang felt a hint of anticipation. The heavenly creation skill was a cultivation method that was absolutely against the natural order. But Jian Wushuang had known that his cultivation method was not complete. The highest level of his cultivation method was flying to the ninth heaven, and he was already on that level. But flying to the ninth heaven could only match ordinary warriors in the Cloud Realm. While Cloud Realm was considered an expert level in the Divine Land, it was merely average in the Monster Continent and just ordinary in the Ancient World. There should be another level above the Cloud Realm. Like the 3 tribes in the Divine Land, the Temple Masters of the human population in the Monster Continent were at levels higher than the experts in the Cloud Realm. In the Ancient World, the realm above the Cloud Realm was called the Skyscraping Realm. It was above 9 heaven. It was possible for an ordinary warrior to be in the skyscraping realm. Therefore, the heavenly creation skill should have another cultivation technique which was higher than flying to the 9th heaven. You are right. Empress Xiao confirmed Jian Wushuang's hypothesis. My grey stone bead does have the remaining realm's cultivation technique of the heavenly creation skill. Having heard Empress Xiao's confirmation, Jian Wushuang's excitement showed in his eyes as his gaze returned to the bead. Kid, take it easy, I will give you the bead eventually, but not now, Empress Xiao said. Jian Wushuang tried hard to conceal his excitement. He took a deep breath and said, Senior, may I ask if you created the heavenly creation skill? Jian Wushuang had wanted to ask this question for a long time. He really wanted to know who had created the heavenly creation skill. It was impressive to have created this incredible heaven-defying cultivation method. As he considered Empress Xiao's strength and his possession of the grey stone bead, Jian Wushuang realized that it was likely that he had created the heavenly creation skill. However, to his surprise, Empress Xiao shook his head. This heavenly creation skill is very occult. It's not something that I can make. It was created by one of my old friends. Old friend? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. Empress Xiao started to explain. We're very close, like demon and pith ears. His strength is a bit greater than mine. This heavenly creation skill was made by him. He passed away after creating the heavenly creation skill. What a pity. Before he died, he had separated the heavenly creation skill into 2 parts and recorded them into 2 grey stone beads. He gave me one and threw the other into the space. He told me to give this bead to the person who cultivates the heavenly creation skill in the 9 cloud realm. That person would be his successor. After he died, I followed the first grey stone bead to the space and arrived at the ancient world. While waiting here, I built a Tang of the East in the Nanyang continent. I've been here for thousands of years. Finally, you are here and you've used the heavenly creation skill to become an invincible warrior. Empress Xiao looked at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang felt overwhelmed. He was well aware of the grey stone bead inside his body and the unique heavenly creation skill, but he had never expected that Empress Xiao had been waiting for him for thousands of years in the ancient world. When you broke through the Saint Realm and became a venerable master, I had already noticed you. From that moment on, I watched you. I know all about your encounters and progress. Emperor Xiao smiled and continued, previously, I thought that you would need more time to reach the Nine-Cloud Realm. To my surprise, you broke through it when you got the opportunity from God Hong in the Earth Core Palace. Jian Wushuang was shocked. Emperor Xiao knew about the opportunity in the 5th level of the Earth Core Palace. And he also knew God Hong? Jian Wushuang didn't know that Emperor Xiao's powers were godlike. He knew every single thing that Jian Wushuang did, including his encounter in the 5th level of the Earth Core Palace. Although God Hong's strength is average, the immortality secret skill is still useful for you, but just barely, Emperor Xiao said. Hearing that, Jian Wushuang was inwardly surprised. God Hong in the 5th level of the Earth Core Palace had only displayed a fraction of his skills, but that had already terrified Jian Wushuang. The immortality secret skill was an incredible secret skill which had filled Jian Wushuang with incredulity. But Emperor Xiao appeared to take God Hong's skills lightly, and he commented the immortality secret skill was just passable. Since you are the successor of my old friend, I will try to help you. Before, I thought you would need more time to break through, so I prepared something for you. But I can save it since you've already succeeded. When the time is right, I will take you to join the Firmament Territory Feast, Emperor Xiao said. Chapter 587, Firmament Territory Feast. Firmament Territory Feast. Jian Wushuang asked quizzically, Senior, what is Firmament Territory Feast? Jian Wushuang had not heard of the Firmament Territory Feast. Firmament Territory Feast is a genius feast. Emperor Xiao began to explain. Kid, you should know that both my old friend and I are from the ancient world, Emperor Xiao said. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. Jian Wushuang knew that although the ancient world was vast, there were even larger swathes of land beyond the ancient world. People like Emperor Xiao, Leng Rushuang, and Di Jing were all from another vast world. The ancient world is a huge world on this plane. Above it, there is the eternal world, Emperor Xiao said. The eternal world. Jian Wushuang was intrigued. It was his first time hearing of the eternal world. The eternal world is enormous. You can't even imagine how huge its territory is. I've lived there for numerous years, but I still haven't fully explored the area, Emperor Xiao said. The eternal world is the core of the universe. Now, you are in the ancient world, which is only a tiny part of the eternal world. There is only one eternal world, but there are countless ancient worlds. Countless. Jian Wushuang was taken aback. You thought there's only one ancient world. Emperor Xiao laughed. He continued, there are lots of territories in the eternal world. This ancient world is under control of Firmament Territory. In the eternal world, Firmament Territory is considered a huge territory and it controls millions of ancient worlds. Even though the ancient worlds are controlled by the Firmament Territory, there isn't a direct route from the ancient world to the eternal world. In the ancient world token is the only one way for warriors like you to go to the eternal world. The ancient world token. Jian Wushuang was in a daze. Previously, he had received a message from Temple Master Black Spirit when he broke through the Earth Core Palace. It had told him that Crystal Armored Monster Emperor and Temple Master Iceberg were very eager to steal his compass because it was related to an ancient world token. He hadn't known then the purpose of the ancient world token. Now, he finally understood that the token was the only way to get into the eternal world. There are many sects in the Firmament Territory. Every 3 years, there is a Firmament Territory Feast where geniuses gather, including experts from the skyscraping realm level. Warriors who have ancient world tokens in the ancient world can also join the Genius Feast, Emperor Xiao answered. However, there are limitations. There are only 5 ancient world tokens in one ancient world, meaning only 5 people can participate in the Firmament Territory Feast. If they perform well at the feast, they can join a sect. Even if no sect accepts them, they can still choose to stay in the Firmament Territory. That's it. Understanding dawned on Jian Wushuang. This explained why Crystal Armored Monster Emperor and Temple Master Iceberg were trying so hard to get an ancient world token. It was really very valuable. Jian Wushuang realized that the ancient world would not appeal to skyscraping realm experts whose strength had already reached the top. The vast eternal world would become their new goal. As there were only 5 tokens, and it was the only way to enter the eternal world, the value of the ancient world tokens was tremendous. It would not be surprising for people in the skyscraping realm to war over an ancient world token. It represented a chance to go to the vast eternal world, take part in the firmament territory and join the sects. Emperor Xiao, you mentioned that you would take me to the firmament territory feast. Jian Wushuang asked in surprise. Yes. Emperor Xiao nodded slightly. But I don't have an ancient world token. Even I did, I am only a 9-cloud realm, so I don't think I'm qualified to join the firmament territory feast. Jian Wushuang was in a daze. Yes, you don't have any ancient world token now, but your ancestor has prepared one for you, Emperor Xiao answered with a smile. What? Jian Wushuang was shocked. His ancestor should be the Sword Ancestor. The Sword Ancestor had already got an ancient world token for him? Well. Jian Wushuang contemplated the possibilities, and soon he understood. No wonder the Sword Ancestor got attacked by millions of experts in the skyscraping realm level. Jian Wushuang sighed. When Jian Wushuang had been in the Divine Land, he had found out that the Sword Ancestor had been attacked by many skyscraping realm experts because he had a treasure with a big secret. Now, he finally understood that the Sword Ancestor's treasure was an ancient world token. The ancient world token was the only treasure that could help him get into the eternal world. Most importantly, there were only 5 in the ancient world. Crystal-armored Monster Emperor and Temple Master Iceberg's attitudes towards the ancient world token showed how important the token was. Jian Wushuang only had a compass that was related to the ancient world token, but Crystal-armored Monster Emperor and Temple Master Iceberg already fought for it desperately. The Sword Ancestor had an actual ancient world token, so this would definitely cause a stir when the news was exposed. As for your realm, you don't need to worry about it. The Firmament Territory Feast will start in another 3 years. During these years, you can go back to the Nanyang continent first and deal with all the remaining stuff in the Divine Land. After that you can follow me. I can help you break through the realm during these 3 years. I'll also help you to improve your strength to another new level, the Emperor Xiao answered with a confident attitude. On hearing this, Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up. You can leave now and find Di Jing. He will show you the tunnel that can take you back to the Nanyang continent. Go there as fast as possible. If you get there late, I'm afraid the Sword Marquis Mansion will be destroyed, the Emperor Xiao answered. What? Jian Wushuang was shocked. If he got there late, the Sword Marquis Mansion would be destroyed? He knew that Emperor Xiao would not lie to him. Senior Emperor Xiao, I'm leaving now. Jian Wushuang was anxious. Without any hesitation, he turned away and left. Chapter 588. Back to Nanyang. Having left the garden, Jian Wushuang saw Yang Zixuan and Di Jing waiting for him outside. Third brother, I've asked eldest brother, Wang Yuan, to come here. Let's have a good drink later, said Yang Zixuan. I'm afraid I can't. Jian Wushuang looked solemn. He shook his head and said, Senior Emperor Xiao has just informed me that Sword Marquis Mansion is in danger. I have to get back immediately, otherwise, it will be destroyed. Really? Yang Zixuan frowned. Master is omnipotent. If it is said that the Sword Marquis Mansion is in danger, you should definitely get back quickly. Second brother, please let our eldest brother Wang Yuan know about this, Jian Wushuang answered anxiously. He looked at Di Jing and said, Senior Di Jing, I have to go back to the Nanyang continent now. Sure, follow me. Di Jing nodded and took Jian Wushuang to the castle. Soon after, Jian Wushuang arrived at a secret chamber which held a huge wormhole. You can get back to the Tang dynasty in the Nanyang continent through this wormhole, Di Jing said as he opened the wormhole for Jian Wushuang. Thanks, Jian Wushuang said and stepped into the wormhole. Waves reverberated in the space and soon, Jian Wushuang disappeared. At the Nanyang continent, a territory of Tang dynasty. The Tang dynasty remained the same messy and violent slaughterous dynasty. At this moment, 2 people were fighting to the death beside a huge nameless mountain in the Tang dynasty. The 2 people emitted Saint Realm auras, reflecting their status as peak experts in the Nanyang continent. The fight between the two Saint Realm experts had attracted a large number of warriors, who stood around the battle and watched the fight intently. No one knew of the existence of a wormhole in the huge nameless mountain. At the moment, the wormhole was aglow with light. A short moment later, a human figure emerged from the wormhole and slowly walked forward along the tunnel. Soon, this human figure came out from the cave. Nanyang Continent. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly, breathed the air and raised his head to look at the sky. Suddenly, a howl reverberated through the area. Jian Wushuang saw a huge blade light cut through the air. Its intended victim had been a Saint Realm elder, who had reacted quickly and avoided it. The power of the blade light had not subsided and continued to move towards Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang had only just arrived at the Nanyang Continent and he was already being attacked. Although the attack was weak for someone at his level, it still made him a bit angry. "Get out!" Jian Wushuang bellowed in rage, his face purple with fury. His bellow sounded like a thunderclap that shocked the entire area and drowned out all other sounds. The blade light which had slashed towards him was immediately destroyed. The purple-haired man who had launched the blade light and the Saint Realm Elder were attacked by the bellow. It confused them and made them bleed from their eyes, noses and mouths. Although they survived, both of them sustained serious injuries. The two powerful Saint Realms wilted like plants in winter. They collapsed on the ground and did not rise again. The ordinary warriors present covered their ears and most of them were shrieking in pain. Abruptly, silence fell. Countless terrified looks focused on Jian Wushuang. The two Saint Realms struggled to stand as they stared at Jian Wushuang in terror. They were well aware of the bellow's power. Jian Wushuang had shown them mercy. Otherwise, that bellow would have killed them. Who is he? His strength is so great that experts of the Saint Realm are infants compared to him. One bellow already carries enough power to seriously harm them. This is a real peak expert. The warriors present were in fervent discussion. Jian Wushuang glanced around with an icy look and realized that the two Saint Realms had been fighting. They had not noticed his arrival, which resulted in him being inadvertently attacked. With a better understanding of the situation, his anger dissipated. He waved his hand and gave an elixir to each of the Saint Realms. Following this, there was a flash of flowing light and Jian Wushuang disappeared completely. This speed! So fast! Who the hell is he? The Saint Realms stared at the elixirs with widened eyes. They hesitated for a moment, then swallowed the elixirs. Soon, they noticed that their injuries were healed. The speed of recovery was rapid and it took only a short time for them to return to their previous conditions. In fact, they were at their peak conditions, or perhaps even better than that. The terrifying skills, incredible speed, and the magic elixir were clear evidence that the two Saint Realms had met a superior. Having left the mountain, Jian Wushuang flew to the Sword Marquis Mansion. Knowing that the Sword Marquis Mansion was in danger, he did not dare to tarry. The Sword Marquis Mansion in the Tang dynasty was a considerable distance from the Qianzhong dynasty. However, Jian Wushuang would be able to get there in less than 1 hour with his speed if he did not stop during his journey. The Sword Marquis Mansion, Bashui Commandery, Qianyang Province in the Qianzhong dynasty. The Sword Marquis Mansion had gained fame in the Nanyang Continent when it had become common knowledge that Jian Wushuang, a peerless genius, hailed from the mansion. While the mansion had not produced experts in the last couple of years, it had the full support of the royal family from the Qianzhong dynasty and the tacit support of the alchemy school. Its overall strength was still much greater than it had been and it had become the top power in the Qianzhong dynasty. The Sword Marquis Mansion had been thriving, but that had changed dramatically a few days ago. A powerful, mysterious expert had broken into the Sword Marquis Mansion and captured all its clansmen. Chapter 589, Jian Wushuang, where are you? At Sword Marquis Mansion, hundreds of clansmen stood on the huge drill ground. Jian Xinhong, the mansion master of the Sword Marquis Mansion, led the elder. A beautiful woman named Jian Meng'er stood among the crowd. Everyone present shared the same pale expressions at the moment. Looks of fear, anger, and hatred were directed towards a wicked man who sat on a stage at the drill ground. The wicked man was clothed in a scarlet robe and had a demonic appearance. He flew through the clansmen one by one with a playful smile. Jian Xinhong, 3 days have already passed, have you decided? The scarlet-robed man stared at Jian Xinhong and his voice echoed coldly through the drill ground. Tell me where the ancestors' land is. Jian Xinhong took a deep breath. He raised his head, glanced at the man and slowly shook his head. Solemnly, he answered, I don't know. You don't know. The scarlet-robed man gave him a glacial look. Boom. A monstrous aura rose and rushed towards Jian Xinhong. This aura was only on the 8-cloud realm level, but for Jian Xinhong, who only just broken through the Yin Void realm, it was overwhelming. The scarlet-robed man had only emitted a little aura, but it was already powerful enough to make Jian Xinhong suffer. Plop. Jian Xinhong was unable to control the balance of his body. Unwillingly, he knelt in front of the scarlet-robed man and bowed his head low. His mouth was full of blood and he could sense that his organs had shifted from the effects of the aura. Devil! You are a devil! Bastard! His clansmen were enraged when they witnessed their master suffer the humiliation. However, reason told them that they had to endure the shame. They could not fight him. Even if all the experts of the Sword Marquis Mansion fought him as one, they wouldn't be able to hurt the scarlet-robed wicked man at all. Jian Xinhong. The scarlet-robed man had started to speak in a cold voice. Sword Marquis Mansion is the only descendant of the bloodline of the Sword Ancestor. As the Mansion Master, you really don't know where the ancestors' land is. I. Jian Xinhong remained in his kneeling position with his forehead touching the ground. He stuttered. I indeed don't know, but even if I do, I will never ever tell you. Really? You really have a backbone? The scarlet-robed man sneered. In the next moment, the oppressive aura surged. This time, Jian Xinhong lay flat on the ground and blood flowed profusely from his pores. Soon he turned into a blood person and he lost consciousness from the excruciating pain. Rubbish. Are you really the descendant of the Sword Ancestor? I think you are just like a worm. The scarlet-robed man laughed coldly. He still had not exerted all of his aura. Although Jian Xinhong was unconscious, he was still alive. As the Mansion Master of the Sword Marquis Mansion, he would be the only one who knew the whereabouts of the ancestors' land. That was why the wicked man had not killed him. You, the scarlet-robed man pointed at an elder and demanded, tell me where the ancestors' land is. I don't know, the elder gritted his teeth and shook his head. As soon as the elder's words died, the scarlet-robed wicked man waved his hand and a greenish-black viper flew out. This viper was a greenish-black long whip with hundreds of sharp greenish-black scales on its surface. As the scarlet-robed man waved, the whip hit the elder. The elder screamed and blood spurted from his mouth. The impact threw the elder against a stone wall at the edge of the drill ground. No one knew if he was still alive. Elder Ying. The clansman screamed. Bastard, I'm going to kill you. A burly clansman had yelled out. He waved his giant axe and slashed violently towards the scarlet-robed man. Don't do it. The people around him tried to stop him, but it was too late. As soon as the clansman started his charge, the scarlet-robed wicked man struck as well. Kai! The greenish-black long whip struck through the clansman's heart and killed him instantly. No! A shrill cry issued from the crowd, but the burly man had been killed. You, come here. The scarlet-robed man pointed to Jian Meng'er. Didn't you hear me? The scarlet-robed wicked man demanded. Jian Meng'er trembled and raised her head. Her pretty face was filled with panic, anger, despair, and madness. She struggled to move forward 3 steps, then stopped. The scarlet-robed man stared at Jian Meng'er. He had licked his lips when he saw her beauty. He ordered, take off your clothes. Jian Meng'er raised her head in horror. Her eyes reflected her roiling emotions. The scarlet-robed man lost his patience when he saw her hesitate. He waved the greenish-black long whip, which flew towards a female toddler standing behind Jian Meng'er. As the whip passed over the girl's right hand, her arm was cut off. Wow! The girl shrieked in pain. Linger! Jian Meng'er stared at the man in fury. That girl was her daughter. Take off your clothes, otherwise I'll cut her head off. The scarlet-robed man had a cruel expression on his face. I will do it. Jian Meng'er had a painful smile on her face. The anger, panic, and madness had vanished, replaced by deep despair. Her hands slowly pulled her clothes down. Her eyes were hollow. She was like a puppet. However, a figure suddenly appeared in her mind. That figure had haunted her for years. As she plunged into despair, she thought about this person. She finally broke down in despair. Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang. You, where are you? Where the hell are you? Chapter 590, Return. Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang. Where are you? Where the hell are you? The forlorn and shrill voice reverberated through the area. Jian Meng'er had cried Jian Wushuang 3 times until her voice became hoarse. She had hated him to the core, but now, she wished that he would appear to save them as he had done many times before in the Nanyang continent. Besides Jian Meng'er, many clansmen here were also fervently crying a name in their hearts. This name was none other than Jian Wushuang. He was their pride and joy and regarded as a legend even in the entire Nanyang continent. Everyone hoped that this legend would show up to protect them. However, nothing happened even after Jian Meng'er's voice had faded. Jian Wushuang had not appeared. Despair. All the clansmen fell into despair. On the platform, the scarlet-robed man sneered as he heard Jian Meng'er's cries. He started to laugh after the cries had stopped. Ha ha. Jian Wushuang? You're thinking of a loser who was forced to escape from the divine land? Ha ha. Ridiculous, very ridiculous. His manic laughter mocked Jian Meng'er. The scarlet-robed man was scornful of Jian Wushuang. He was Fire Ghost, one of the 72 marquises in the divine land. He was famous for his evil, so he had the nickname Evil Marquis. Of course, he was very powerful. He was known as the #1 marquis among the 72 marquises. His battle strength was comparable to the 9 sovereigns. A marquis of his status would not care about an escapee who was hunted by numerous skyscraping realm experts. Idiots. Fire Ghost sneered as his laughter continued to reverberate. There were many experts outside the Sword Marquis mansion. Some of them came from the alchemy school, some were from the imperial house of the Qianzong dynasty. Their faces fell when they heard his laughter. I've heard of Evil Marquis. He is a supreme expert in the vast divine land. Now that he's taken Sword Marquis Mansion as his target, it's impossible for them to survive, a white-haired elder said. Upon hearing this, Wang Yang, Di Shi, and Hong Shuzi frowned. Jian Wushuang had requested them to help him take care of Sword Marquis Mansion, and they had fulfilled their promises. However, even the white-haired elder who was at the Cloud Realm could do nothing against the evil Marquis Fire Ghost. So what were they able to do? As for Jian Wushuang, I've never heard of him in the divine land. I'm afraid that he is not very famous and might not be very powerful. Even if he returns, it would be impossible for him to fight the evil Marquis. In that case, there is nothing we can do. Sect Master of the Alchemy School sighed as he shook his head. Silence descended on the drill ground in Sword Marquis Mansion. All the clansmen were in complete despair. A tragic smile appeared on Jian Meng'er's face. She slowly took off her clothes, revealing her pink underwear. Go on. Fire Ghosts stared at the girl with evil eyes. Jian Meng'er's hands shivered slightly as she slowly stretched her fingers to the silk ribbon on her underwear. Just as she was about to take off her last piece of clothing, a figure suddenly appeared in front of her. Jian Meng'er stopped. She had been in a daze. Now, she felt a surge of hope. You finally came. Jian Meng'er murmured. Her clansmen who had felt hopeless brightened up when they saw the figure appear. The grim drill ground was suddenly infused with vitality and hope. Fire Ghost perceived the great change. He was surprised that they were staring at something behind him, so he turned to have a look. What? Fire Ghost was shocked when he saw the figure in front of him. He had not been aware that the man had stood behind him for a while. You. Fire Ghost stared at this man. The man was dressed in a black robe and had a long sword on his back. His beautiful face shone with a flicker of coldness. Overwhelming killing intent radiated from him. Although it had not erupted, his killing intent was strong enough to shake Fire Ghost. If I'm right, you're the evil Marquis, the #1 Marquis in the Divine Land. Jian Wushuang said in an icy voice. He had hurriedly returned after being informed by Emperor Xiao that Sword Marquis Mansion was in trouble. Having witnessed the scene in front of him, he was absolutely furious. He had rarely been as furious as this. Sword Marquis Mansion was his root. It was the place where he had been born and raised. His clansmen were his family. Fire Ghost was trampling on his family. His anger blazed. You are Jian Wushuang. Fire Ghost recognized him. You dare to come back? Jian Wushuang did not respond but glared at Fire Ghost. The next moment, his killing intent peaked and surged towards Fire Ghost with the force of a tsunami. The terrifying killing intent, which contained slaughter Dao, instantly oppressed Fire Ghost. The force behind the attack felt like it came from a skyscraping realm expert. Pang! A huge pit suddenly appeared on the ground. Fire Ghost lay in the pit as the sound of breaking bones rang out in succession.